going on, Shadow Corner family? It's your friendly neighborhood life coach, Cyan. I hope that you're having a wonderful evening, and I hope that you're having a grand old Tuesday. It is exactly 70, maybe 80 degrees out here. Still very hot, but we get through it. I want to bring on another guest that knows that how to truly navigate the mental and mind of learning you, and not just you, but making sure that you're your own best advocate. So today on Shadow Corner, we are joined by a powerful voice in the world of emotional wellness, Ms. Judith Belmont. With over 40 years of experience as a licensed psychotherapist, corporate trainer, and wellness conference speaker, Ms. Judith has dedicated her life to helping others move beyond self-limiting beliefs and step into resilience. She's the author of 11 transformative self-help books and 2 therapeutic card decks, all rooted in hands-on practical tools that support emotional healing and personal growth, whether through live workshops, keynotes, or her own online resources at Ms. Belmont at belmontwellness.com. Judith offers accessible mental health strategies that meet people where they are. Get ready to dive into this conversation and be filled with the clarity and wisdom and takeaways you actually needed. Now, when we first brought Ms. Carrie Logan, she talked to us about you not being the problem. So now we're going to talk about what it truly means to be in emotional wellness with yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Judith Belmont. How you doing, madam?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. So
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. It is truly an honor to have you because we had another, actually, I believe Ms. Carrie was a psychiatrist or a hypnotherapist. She talked a lot about trauma and how it is not just a result of, what happened to you, it's how you react to it. Now we have you. Can you tell us a little more about you? I know you said you have 40 years of experience. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, I'm a retired psychotherapist, and I am, as you said, the author of 11 books. And my specialty has always been to offer practical life skills and practical self-help skills for a better life, for self-empowerment. It's all about taking charge of your life.
Okay, so what is something that you notice is like the biggest shift in people right now when it comes to emotional health compared to when you started? Because I know we have now, we have some of the knowledge about what emotional intelligence is. We also have like the mental of meditation is not just meditation, or breath work is not just breath work. It's you getting aligned with yourself. So what is like the biggest shift that you've seen in your line of work now compared to when you first started?
I think people have the same basic issues. I haven't seen that people have different issues. A lot of people's issues that are counterproductive to their happiness is using unhealthy ways of thinking. And so one of the things that I do in my books and my presentations is to talk about practical ways to think more clearly. Now, we have a lot more resources than we used to than 40 years ago, that's for sure. And there's a lot more readily available on the internet. When I first started as a therapist, there was no computers. So I think that there's a lot of wealth out there, but I don't think that a lot of people have fundamentally changed in terms of their sense of self. People who think clearly generally have a better quality of life. People who think in irrational ways often don't have a good quality of life. I think it's pretty similar to what it used to be. A lot of times their self-esteem is gained from being better than average and being super successful, having a lot of, accoutrements of wealth. That doesn't really do it. That's certainly nice. It might be a plus, but what really causes happiness is what happens between our ears. It's how we look at things. And I can give you a couple of examples if you would like.
Yes, ma'am. Because I know a lot of I know that there are a couple people that when they talk about like self-limiting beliefs, it goes straight into like the spiritual aspect of it. So I know you have a story for us. Can you expand on that? It's not just the basic average. Do you think like people are just specifically performance based? Is that like now become the normal identity? Because
Well,
I know we're in that stage where, yeah, the hustle hard culture where it's just like the harder I hustle, the more chances of me getting to where I need to be. Money is no object. I just want the accolades. So
well, there's nothing wrong about hustling, but a lot of times people think when I am successful, then I'll be happy. When I'm married, then I'll be happy. When this happens, then I'll be happy. Happiness isn't really happening from the outside. As long as you have your basic needs met, it's really how you see things. And I'll give you an example. If you think, he makes me so angry, that's a self-limiting belief. Because if someone can make you angry, they can make you very happy too. People can't make you feel a certain way or think a certain way. I was angry when he said that. That would be a rational thought versus he makes me so angry. So that's how you change from a victim language to a victor language. You have beliefs that he causes me to feel bad about myself. Well, the problem is you're going to be at someone else's mercy. And so what I am advocating is thinking more clearly. So you're more self-empowered. I am angry with some of the things that he does versus he makes me angry. It's a big shift. One is a shift of self-empowerment from being a victim.
okay, so what are
A lot of times we have self-limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves because we notoriously talk to ourselves unlike we do to other people. We're often much harder on ourselves. So, I'll never get it together. What's wrong with that? You're putting yourself down. You're fortune telling. That's called a cognitive distortion. All or nothing thinking. I'll never get it together. So many times people think in all or nothing over catastrophized ways. And when we think in more temporary ways versus permanent ways, we become happier. We think more clearly. So how would you change? I'll never get it together. Up until now, I'm disappointed at how far I've come. And I have learned a lot moving forward. That would be a healthier spin rather than just all or nothing. I'm never going to get it together.
okay, so would that also apply to like people that suffer from depression or those that have like attentive ADHD? Because I know like a couple of friends that are depressed and they feel like they're so stuck in this moment of their life that they don't know what to do with themselves when something falls off. So they fall into this ball and they don't know how to get out.
Well, that's what my specialty is with my books is helping people get out of that way of thinking. When people think in those ways, they are stuck. They need to unstick their way of thinking. And a lot of my work in my last book that came out in January, 110 CBT tips and tools, is basically how to use principles from cognitive behavior therapy. Cognitive means mind, behavior is behavior, and how to get yourself unstuck by thinking in different ways. And so instead of, I'm not good enough, which is a lot of people think, and then they're feeling depressed and they're feeling anxious, is I am worthy as the day I was born. Because a lot of times people think that they're not as worthy as other people. Well, guess what? Your worth never changes. And I use the example of a bill, let's say a $20 bill. And let's say you crumble it and you step on it and you crease it and then you unfold it. And how much is it worth? It's still worth $20. But a lot of times people forget that. And they think because they've had creases in their lives and they've had a lot of feelings of being crushed in their lives, they don't really feel like they're as worthy. But that's really unhealthy ways of thinking. And unhealthy ways of thinking, it will causes depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem.
Okay, so I know we talk. I know on Shadow Corner, I talk a lot about meeting yourself in the dark, meaning like meeting who you are right now and looking to your shadow self for aid, because in those shadows are bits and pieces of the bits and pieces of ourselves that can help us out of these type of mental stuff things. Because we, like you said, we weren't like that in the beginning. It wasn't until we communicated with others or people that did had their own metal of thinking, and then they tried to force your thinking onto them that got you there. So how can someone begin the process without becoming overwhelmed? Because
I think it's kind of simple, actually. And no matter what shadows you have, the real panacea, the real cure is self-love, love for others, self-compassion, and forgiveness. And when people have self-limiting beliefs, they're usually very judgmental about themselves and often about others. And by being forgiving of others not giving you what they didn't have to give in the first place, it's not like people intentionally don't give you a good upbringing or good mental health. It's not like people are intentionally trying to hurt, let's say a child by unhealthy parenting. People do the best they can with what they have. You can't get milk at a hardware store. Well, maybe I guess you can sometimes, but let's say a furniture store. You can't get milk from a furniture store. People can only give you what they have to give. So once you start letting go of expectations that people should have known better and change it to, I wish they knew better, but work on forgiving what you can't forget. And also have a lot of compassion towards yourself. Because if people love themselves and are compassionate towards themselves and are empathetic, no matter what mistakes you've made, you then can thrive.
okay,
You
so
don't have to go in every nook and cranny of a shadow in order to figure it all out. Once you reach a point where you love yourself unconditionally, do the best you can, but forgive yourself for your shortcomings and have a lot of self-compassion, a lot of the negativity goes away.
okay, so self-compassion plays a big role in resilience and healing, correct?
Yes,
So
very much.
So in this case, does a support system also go at, because I know it's not just you, because I'm circling back to a question that I wanted to ask. Was there a moment when you realized that hands-on strategies were more effective than just talking? Because I know like a lot of people, there's a difference between someone that's more of a auditory learner than someone that actually has to physically do it. I'm a physical person. So it's like I personally, when I'm working with someone as a coach, I physically try to auditory learn their story. And in my mind, I visualize what it was like when they were who they are before they got to this point. And then I try to pinpoint what things that they may have lost along the way and help them through it. So do you believe hands-on is more effective than just talking about it?
I think a combination. I think support is really important. I think processing and understanding and having insight is very important. But the thing is, if you don't think in healthy ways, you need to learn skills. So, for example, in my books, I have worksheets, I have handouts. I teach you how to think more clearly. It's one thing if you just, process and support. That's important. No question about it. But what are you actually do in order to improve. So, for the clients that I would see over the years, a lot of the work in therapy was done between sessions. It wasn't just when they spoke with me. I gave them, sort of that figurative example of you give someone fish they eat for a day, but you teach them to fish they eat for a lifetime. Let people need to practice skills and you can be like a coach and a guide in order to unlearn some unhealthy ways of thinking and behaving and having some understanding of, for instance, how to identify cognitive distortions. So if you say to yourself, oh, I'm such a loser, you write it down. This is an example of a technique. And you look, is that fact or fiction? Is this stories I'm telling myself, or is this actually true? And of course, this is just your narrative. It's an interpretation. So interpretations are not facts. So you identify the cognitive distortion, which would be your labeling myself. And again, over catastrophizing, all or nothing thinking. And then you change it to a healthier way of thinking. I don't feel as happy with myself as I would like to be. That's a very big difference than being so judgmental. So when we keep on what's called thought catching and catching ourselves with those cognitive distortions, we can identify it and then change it. But if you keep on thinking the same kooky ways and can't actually identify that it's unhealthy, you'll keep on doing it.
So, okay. So if someone is feeling like emotionally stuck right now, what's one step that they can take to begin that shift in their mindset? I know that you also have like tools like the therapeutic card decks that you have. How do those tangible tools help people explore their inner world, like in a safe and structured way?
Right. So the card decks are pretty much like my books, but they're in very condensed ways. I have an anxiety and stress card deck and a group therapy card deck. And basically it's the same types of activities like I just told you about to identify cognitive distortions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people need structure in order to identify and change their ways of thinking. And I talk about, let's say one of those cards would be temporary versus permanent. He always does that versus he often does that. What's the difference? One, there's no hope. The other one, you have more power. It's all about self-empowerment and not letting yourself get away with unhealthy ways of thinking. So an example would be of another technique is instead of accepting these irrational thoughts, you distance yourself from them. It's called cognitive diffusion. And you look at the thought, let's say the thought that I'm a loser, and you look at it like it's a cloud. And instead of thinking I'm a loser, you defuse it from your head and you look at it as you develop an observing head. There I go again, thinking that I am a loser. So one is that you believe it and it's fused to your mind and you're looking from it. And the other is you look at it. So I would do this with my clients a lot, is imagine those thoughts on a movie screen, like subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
And all those thoughts, you're in the movie theater and you're watching them and you're developing what's called an observing head. Rather than reacting to them, you distance yourself from your disturbing thoughts. That would be another technique. Because a lot of times people want to change, they just don't know how.
Okay, so what's what's the misunderstood aspect when it comes to emotional wellness that you wish more people understood clearly? Because I know we talked, like I said, we talked about the different tools. We talked about having self-compassion during healing. So when it comes to emotional wellness, what's like the golden rule, like that people misunderstand and needs to be cleared up?
I think emotional wellness is often seen as having preconditions, such as when I lose 20 pounds, then I'll be happy. Or when I finish school, then I'll be happy. When I get married, then I'll be happy. People have a lot of outside goals, and they often think that emotional wellness comes from the outside, but it really doesn't. Self-esteem is an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. Now, of course, you need the basics. You need, food, shelter, you need to have the basics. But if you're lucky enough to be healthy enough to live a life without major medical or complications, etc., you have a lot of freedom of choice. And a lot of people think that other people make them feel a certain way. And that's, we're not talking about abusing young children or something. Yeah, they're very, fragile and vulnerable. We're talking about people who might have had abuse when they were younger, might have had a dysfunctional family when they were younger, but this is the time to reclaim your life by not having self-limiting beliefs and maybe not listening to some of those voices in your head that weren't also healthy. Maybe being bullied at school or being marginalized or being in a marriage where, your spouse talks, puts you down. These are things that you can change by not listening to some of those unhealthy voices anymore.
Okay. After decades of helping others, what still gives you hope about human transformation? I know on my end, I feel like the hope of wanting to evolve, because there's so many people that says that I want to elevate, I want to do these things, and they start making tiny shifts. So what tiny shifts that help them to look at their lives differently? Like, it could have been worse because there's somebody out there that could have it worse than them. What gives you hope about human transformation?
I think people are amazing. I think everybody is worthy of love. And as long as you have what's called a growth mindset and you pick up the pieces from what has not worked, you can make a beautiful mosaic in your life. You don't have to be whole to have a beautiful life and to accept yourself as beautiful. So it gives me hope that people are beautiful and their struggles are beautiful and their courage is beautiful. And a lot of times people judge themselves and judge others that limit the awareness of the beauty inside.
So I'm going to go on like a personal flip on this, because it's in Shadow Corner and we're like, this is authentic. This is you all day long. What shadows have you personally had to face to become the person that you are today? Because I know you wasn't like this like 40 years ago.
No.
So like you had a lot of nuggets to pass along to the masses. What were some things that you personally had to fight to get here as the person that you are?
I probably went into the field because I was from a family that was not exactly from healthy thinkers. And I was a very sensitive child and sensitive to yelling and that kind of stuff. And so I was very shy. And so as I evolved, I learned skills that made me not shy anymore and made me very confident. But it was a process, I've had a lot of years that I've been able to have a growth mindset and to improve. So those same limitations are not existent anymore, but I think it's helped me understand people and be empathetic because it wasn't always like that.
Okay. So I know that we have a lot of, just now had a lot of similarities, because even though I grew up in a Christian household, there was the yelling and things that I was sensitive to as well. Those type of people are considered HSPs. They're highly sensitive people. They're also very known to be empaths. So is a great gift that you're able to evolve like that within your time and be able to spread your knowledge to us. And we're truly grateful for that.
Thank you.
If you could leave listeners with one healing reminder today, what would it be?
You're beautiful the way you are, and be the authentic you. Don't try to be the perfect you, be authentic. Because a lot of times people give themselves a very limited tightrope, and they're so afraid of making mistakes. They think it reflects on them. Just accept yourself, flaws and all, and you're beautiful the way you are. And you don't have to reach certain benchmarks to be worthy. Now, that doesn't mean you don't strive and you don't have passion for things, but don't judge that you're not a whole person until you get there, because the journey is just as important as the destination.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Judith. We will carry your wisdom, your knowledge, and everything that you have taught us today with us. We duly appreciate you giving us your time. And also, thank you for allowing me to pick your brain this whole 13 minutes.
Thank you.
I truly appreciate it. Well, and we will see you soon. Later on, because I'm conducting a thing called The Circle, where we bring professionals like yourself on to answer like questions from our audience and also to give real life answers. If you are down for that.
Thank you.
All right, good people. As Judah says, your self-limiting beliefs are only concepts that not only are from what you've experienced, the people you've interacted with, but these are not permanent. These are not permanent things that should hang over your head. And I know it seems like it's easier said than done, but all the coaches that you admire, the people that you listen to, wisdom and all, they've had to go through growth mindsets in order to get to where they are. To build this emotional resilience, not only do you have to want it, but you also have to be able to do the work for it. All day on Shadow Corner, I've always told you guys, it starts with you and it ends with you. And the moment that you understand that concept, it's nothing but the sky. The sky is the limit for you. You have no one to hold you down. You can go as far as you can possibly go. I hope that Ms. Judith has given you something to think about. All her links and things will be in the description below, as well as if she has any free gifts for us, it will also be in the description below. As always, I am your coach, Cyan Gates, and just like every day, I'll see you next time.